function notation. When we have function notation, what you have basically is an equation. You see, hopefully right there, 3 different equations. Instead of calling it y equals, and y equals, we're calling them different letters, which is kind of nice. That's F, that's G, and that's H. So if I was to tell you which one's, what's H, you know it's right there. If I said, if they're all y equals, I would have to say the third equation, the first equation. Do you follow how kind of confusing that can be? This is a good way so that people can tell which function you're talking about, which equation. Equation, function are kind of interchangeable. You'll learn as we go. They're kind of the same idea. So basically, F, G, H are just describing them. Now, the reason I have this parenthesis x is what this means is x. So if I look right here, this is f of -7. That's how we say it, f of -7. This is f of x. What they're saying is -7 is f, is the x value of f. You see how x got replaced with -7? Can you see that? So I replaced x with -7. So what it's saying is we're going to take the f function and plug -7 in. So we go here, the f function, and we're going to stick -7 right there. Meaning, watch this. It basically means we take the function, and we're going to take x minus 3. Again, we're taking this function, and I put a blank for x. And what are we sticking in that blank? We are plugging -7. So we're taking this number and sticking it in for x right there, and now we just do the arithmetic. So now you just got to know, okay, what's -7 minus 3? Hopefully you know that's -10. So for h of -3, well, I go to h, which is right here, and I'm going to plug -3 into that. So let's see. What that means is I'm going to take h, which is 5x squared minus 1, and inside of the x, it's saying we're plugging -3. So I put -3 right there. And now I just got to do the arithmetic. Okay, so order of operations tell us we're going to first do the powers before we multiply. So -3 squared means -3 times -3. So -3 times -3 is a positive 9. And we still have the -1. Again, be careful. We always power before we multiply. Parentheses and then exponents, and then multiply and dividing. So next, we're going to multiply before we minus. Multiply and division always comes before adding and subtracting. So our next step is to multiply those two, which is 45. And don't forget the minus the 1 at the end. So my answer is 44. What that's saying is, if I plug -3 into h function, I will get 44 out. Kind of nice. You know, if this is just y equals, and I plug -3 in, when I'm done, I wouldn't remember what I plugged in. You have to go look at all your work. This is saying h of -3 is 44. The output of -3 plugged into h is 44. Okay, so the g here is a little bit harder because we're going to plug a fraction into the g function. So up here is the g function, so we're going to take 5 minus 2. Let's erase that for a second. Minus 2 times something. And what are we plugging into that? Hopefully you realize it's a fourth. And that can be a little harder. Some of you don't like fractions. Now, for fraction purposes, are you okay if I can put a 1 underneath that too? That's 2 divided by 1. And what I get here is I get 5 minus. Now, hopefully you remember that when you take two fractions and multiply them, hopefully you remember you multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. You just multiply straight across here and straight across here. So hopefully you realize that's going to become 2/4. And does 2/4 reduce? Yes. Hopefully you realize that's going to become 1/2. Now, 5 minus 1/2. Well, for some of you know, look at that and go, I know it's 4.5. If I have $5 and I take away $0.50, I have $4.50. But let's just talk about how we do it mathematically if it wasn't as nice of a number. How do we subtract fractions? Well, hopefully you remember, I got to change this 5 so it has a 2 on the bottom. So hopefully you remember something where you put like multiply 2 on top and bottom. There's like a 1 there. Do you remember something like that? You multiply top and bottom by 2 so they now have the same bottoms. So we now have 5 is the same as, what 2 times 5 is 10. Isn't 10 divided by 2 equal to 5? Okay, multiply top and bottom by 2. And then I got my half, so that equal sign's not supposed to be there. I keep making mistakes. That's not an equal sign. That's a minus, right? So and then once we get the same bottoms, do you guys hopefully remember what you're going to do here is you subtract the tops and leave the bottom when you subtract fractions. So 10 minus 1 is 9, and then leave the bottom. So there's my answer, 4 over 2, which we said earlier is 4.5. I said that, sorry, 9 over 2, which I said earlier is 4.5. So that is the same as that. They're both the same. So they're each. Now, for number 4 here, I have to find h of 2, f of 7, and g of 3. Find the values of each. And whenever I find this value, I'm then going to subtract f of 7 and multiply f of 7 times g of 3. So let's take a step back. Once we find these values, are we going to multiply these first or subtract these first? Hopefully you realize we're going to multiply these two answers once we get them, and then take it away from this answer. But what we first got to do is find this answer, and this answer before you even do any of that. So you first got to find each piece, and then you're going to do the arithmetic of them in the proper order of operations. So h of 2. h of 2 is saying, okay, I have 5 blank squared minus 1. All right, then we have, let me put parentheses around that for now, minus f of 7 is saying blank minus 3 times g of 7 is 5 minus 2 times blank. So do you see how I just wrote each function with blanks for now? And inside the first blank, do you see I'm going to put a 2? Because h of 2 says plug 2 into h. For f of 7, it's saying plug 7 in for f. And for the last one, g of 3, it's saying plug 3 into g. Now what we're going to do is find each answer and do the arithmetic. So for this one, I'm going to skip some steps a little bit, but are you okay? For this first piece, it's going to be 5 times 4 minus 1. Because 2 squared is 4. Minus, what's 7 minus 3? Are we okay? That's 4. And then for this one, that's don't we multiply first before we subtract? So 5 minus 6. So let's see what we get here. We got each piece. Okay, for the first piece, we're going to get 20 minus 1. What's 20 minus 1? That's 20. 20 minus 1, that's hopefully you see as 19. That's 4. Okay, yay. That was easy. And what's 5 minus 6? Well, there's more negatives than positives. That's a negative 1, correct? Now, before we do these two things at the bottom, don't we have to multiply 4 times negative 1 before we subtract? Order of operations. So I have 19, and when I do this right here, what's a negative 4 and a negative 1? Think of that as a negative 4 in front. It might be easier. You think of positive 4 or negative 4 because negative is going to kind of work its way in. So can you tell that's going to be a positive 4? Yeah. Because a negative 4 times a negative 1 is a positive 4. And then we got 19 plus 4 is 23, Michael Jordan. If you know who he is, he's kind of old. But he's still common.